Hey, thanks Jessica, and thanks everyone for joining today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, I guess, depending on where you are or when you're listening to this webinar. We certainly do appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. Less Software is an independent software solution provider that works with professional services to help our customers speed processes. And we really focus a lot on the supply chain, and we have a lot of customers that are in a value-added reseller model where they're selling goods or services for their customers' benefit. So we've found that these irrespective of the commodity that they're delivering, we find that the material margins are very tight and competitive. The industries themselves are competitive. Every one of our customers has lots of competitors, which means it's a rich market, but there are a lot of competitors. And so we've been trying to think about this for the last couple of years and building a solution that works really, really well in this value-added reseller model. So we're going to be kind of showing that today. So our solution is branded as Supply Chain Management on Demand, which, as it might suggest, it is software as a service. So you don't have to buy a server and all of the on-premise database products and the firewall and a backup solution and all of that. We're managing all that complexity for you, and you're just allowing you to focus on your business. So it is a full suite. We're going to quote quotes and place POs and fulfill orders for customers in a demonstration. So we'll just do it all in one solution. Pretty tightly integrated. So one of the things that we have found is trying to understand and simplify this how do I get engaged with a customer, give them a quotation through to getting that customer that delivery of the goods and services that they purchase from me. So we find there's some interesting things that go on in this model, and one of the things that we're really kind of focus on today is doing a value-added reseller model, but in a drop ship fulfillment. This is where we have a supplier delivering goods directly to our customers so that we don't have to hold the inventory, and then we're dispatching professional services to get the benefit of those products that we have sold. So there's a configure price application that we're going to be going through really to get to that a correct configuration, a correct pricing, not only from the supplier but to the customer, and be able to get that and understand that from a margin management point of view. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but for now, let's just say that gross profit management, the thing that we've seen a lot in this particular marketplace is the ability to compensate sales representatives not on the total value of the deal, but actually on the gross profit of the deal. So you bring me more profitable deals, I pay you more money. So that's something we're going to watch very careful today as we kind of go through here. So the idea of this is pretty simple. So I'm going to switch to the software, and you can see my screen here. Today I'm doing the demonstration on a Mac, but it could be a Windows PC that I'm using. Just happen to be on a Mac today. And when we look at this process for order fulfillment, today, because I'm demonstrating, I'm literally going to be able to do everything. But typically, we're going to find that a user here will have a very specific profile. And my profile gives me the ability not only to determine what the system allows me to do, but I can participate here. You can see where I've been doing work. I'm doing that today. So today, I'm going to be doing a webinar. So even as a contributor here, I can share with my colleagues exactly what I'm doing today, and I'm actually going to be performing this webinar for you today. So this is a feature that we call Chatter. It allows a interface with the application to be able to get updates not only from my sales team, my fulfillment team, my accounting team, but also I can have the application participate in this. So when certain, like if a margin's out of line, I can get a message on this from if like one of my sales team is struggling with the deal, they can ask for help within their colleagues. So it's a very powerful tool to be able to share these dimensions. So today, what we're going to do, I thought we would start at the start, we'll just start with a customer quotation. So the way we kind of think about this is, am I doing fulfillment? I really just want to kick off a process. So am I doing fulfillment in a drop ship model, which is a little more complicated than if I'm simply doing an inventory model, or am I a value-added reseller where I'm doing a service contract? In other words, I have aspects of recurring and non-recurring revenue. So really what we're asking this user to tell us is, well, how do you want to do this? How do you, what process are you really wanting to start? And so they say, okay, I want to start with the drop ship fulfillment, so pretty easy. So when the system understands that we're going to be doing drop ship, then the next thing it's going to ask us is, okay, who are we actually trying to work with here? So I could say, yeah, I've got a customer or a prospect that I'm working with. A customer is somebody obviously I've done business with before, and if I knew who they are, that's great. If not, they're simply a prospect. But I want to get them some information. So the way we think about it is we quote people, and we place orders with customer or with a company. So that's an account as a company, and I know somebody there. So if I say, yep, I want to quote Miguel. I've worked with Miguel successfully before, and he's looking for some more goods and services for me. So he works at this firm. I have his contact information, his address, fax, phone, email, so I know how to communicate this quotation with him. So that's great. Now it gets to the kind of interesting part where, well, what is it that I want to break down? What are the products that he's interested in, and how do I price those? So I'm going to focus my attention on that right now and start adding a product. So the product, there's lots of different ways that you can put product in. I'm just simply typing a couple of digits, and it's using telesense to return a product to me. So in this case, I'm a value-added reseller of Cisco technology. So my supplier is Cisco, and my manufacturer is Cisco, and I'm going to be selling this switch today, but I also want to sell some other products. So I'm going to add another product here and see if the system can help me a little bit with some pricing information. So we are pulling, in this case, we're pulling from the supplier catalog, which happens to be Cisco. In this case, we're pulling out the list price for this product in the open market. We're also pulling in the cost that I pay Cisco on a previously negotiated agreement. So with Cisco, I may get a standard off list 42% off of the products that I buy from Cisco as a value-added reseller within the Cisco there. So a couple interesting things that the system's showing me right now is, one is that this product right here, this licensed product here, is actually, I can see where it's an upsell to this product here. So I simply entered this product, and it said, hey, this is the license that goes with that. It's given me the appropriate pricing, so that's great. I got the appropriate pricing. And from a user experience, I can say that, I also have agreements for this product with other suppliers. So in this case, I could be buying this from Avnet Technology Solutions at this price, or I could get it directly from Cisco at this price. So it's very easy to say who is my preferred trade partner, and the system will kind of default to that. I can add a new supplier on demand, so it's very flexible about what we're doing and the products that we are producing. So in a typical customer base, they may have hundreds of thousands of product SKUs. A customer that has over 1.2 million product SKUs in the catalogs, but they only actually have done trade on about maybe 60,000 of those. So it gives sales the ability to sell, the entire catalog, but usually there's expertise around certain areas of it. Maybe like a telepresence product from Cisco or something like that. So you can be very careful about the way that things are going there. So let's say that I want to maybe do a little deal registration deal with Cisco, and I want to be able to set a little better price in terms of my cost for this product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to set the cost by list minus, in this case, we'll go from 42 to 53%. So now I've got a list minus at 0%. This will be my customer price, or prices on these products, and my deal's now at 53%. So I've set my cost, which is interesting for a quoting tool to be able to kind of globally set cost information based on like a deal registration or something like that. So that's great. So because I'm a value-added reseller, I'm going to go ahead and add professional services. The professional services are added. They're a product. I can deliver those professional services, or I may outsource those regionally, geographically, to help my customers. So I may have agreements with other suppliers that are actually dealing with professional services on my behalf, like subcontractors, if you will. So that's my list price. So now it's starting to get a little complicated, because now I've got licenses, and I've got services, and I've got hardware. So it'd be kind of nice if I could kind of group these together in some logical way for me to kind of understand them a little bit. So I'm going to take the hardware here and do exactly that. I'm going to group them. So I'm going to group them, and strangely enough, I'll just go ahead and call them hardware. So now I'm going to be quoting my customer a hardware group. I've got a software license product, so I'm going to group and have a separate group for software licenses. So I can type, and as I start typing things, you can see where it returns a response for me. I'll apply that. And then, and most significantly, here's my professional services, or my value add to selling these products. So I'm going to go ahead and group that as professional services. So I've got my professional services. So now I've got goods, I've got services, that hardware, software, and there. So typically this is pretty simple because we have like 4 lines and it's there. But wonder if we had 400 lines. How are we going to manage this? So collapsing all of my groups so I can see the summary numbers is a powerful way to be able to manage this. So I can manage deals for all of these line items pretty easily. If I want to have an entire deal be set at a cost plus, or a profit margin, or a list minus, I just select the one that I want. So if I want a very specific margin, I can do that by saying I want a 32% margin on this particular deal. It will calculate for me my customer price. So, boy, I've got a lot of things going on here laterally, so I'm going to hide a couple of cells to help me kind of focus my attention. So I'm going to hide this, and I already know who the manufacturer is. So now I'm looking at this and say, okay, now I can just see pricing. So pretty simply, I can say, okay, that's the pricing. So based on a profit margin of 32% of this cost, I'm going to sell it for this price. That's pretty simple. I've changed all of these to equal 32% based on cost, but that's probably unrealistic. So why don't we go in and just change the hardware, and I'll tell you what, we'll go to a profit margin of maybe 12% there. So now I got a profit margin there. But on my services, I don't want to go by profit margin. I want to go my professional services. I want to go list minus, and I'll give them a 5% discount on my services rate. So now I've got hardware, I've got software, and I've got services all configured differently with different profit margins, and my total deal right now is 12.9%. So again, as we kind of talked about earlier, what we've seen in the marketplace is, rather than trying to reward reps and pay commissions based on total quote price, I really want to do it based on the gross profit calculation. So I'm going to be paying, in this case, compensation based on this number, not this number. So there's some other things that we certainly can do inside the tool, like do a bottom line discount or manage the total quote. But every time we do that, we're going to recalculate the margin based on any of those scenarios and always know what the gross profit of this deal is. And we're going to sustain that all the way through to invoicing so that we can substantiate the compensation to the sales rep. So easy tool to use, configure, pretty easy to do. The next problem that we see in value-added reselling is, I'm here in California and my customer is in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. So what is the current tax rate for hardware, software, and professional services in Washington, D.C.? And so we can ask the system to go ahead and calculate those taxes for us. And we have a great partner in a company called Avalara, who has a brilliant product called AvaTax that does in fact calculate those taxes down to the taxing municipality for all of North America for the kinds of goods and services that we are delivering. So as these municipalities are starving for revenue, they are going to find creative ways to create fees and taxations around these products that we're trying to sell. So this is a very, very complex problem that we've actually solved for multiple customers now in using these tools this way. So great, I'm going to send Miguel a quote. So let's do that. So the system includes an email template and email delivery service. So I'm going to go ahead and click send, and it will create for me a PDF document or an Excel document or a Microsoft Word template document, depending on how you want to deliver this to our customer, our prospect. But we'll create an attachment. In this case, I've created a PDF and I've attached it to our document. So, hey, Miguel, here's all the products and services and the pricing that I'm offering to you. And if I wanted to show price, discount, and the amount of discount that I'm offering to Miguel, I can do that. It's just another template. You know, it's really what do you want to tell Miguel in this particular case. And it could be different from account to account on how you want to do this. You may have a customer that demands a very specific format, and then so we can tie this to your customer account record too. So, right, Miguel's got his quote. He likes the pricing. Now we have to kind of go through this arduous process of booking this order and placing these subcontracts with Cisco. So the way that we've thought about this is say, well, let's book the order first of all and foremost. So I'm going to go ahead and book that sales order, which pulls from the quoting tool all of the pricing that's coming out of the quoting tool. It's placing our sales order with our account, and we are converted from our customer quotation. So the pricing that we have here is great. So Miguel gives me his purchase order number. We're going to set the terms for 30-day payment terms, and we're going to set the FOB at destination, and we'll go ahead and we'll save that. And so I'm looking at this deal, and I'm going to submit this deal for approval. The application absolutely has a quote or electronic approval. But I'm kind of self-approved, so I'm the sales rep, and I've approved this deal. But now I've got to create the subcontract purchase order for all of this with Cisco. So because the quoting tool had all of the essence of the deal, I can simply say, create the purchase order. So this purchase order has been, the pricing has come out of our quoting tool, because that's where we did the deal creation. It's linked our purchase order to Cisco systems here, to our very specific sales order with Miguel. These are the goods and services that we're expecting Cisco to deliver, and this is the pricing that we're expecting to pay for that. So I'm going to submit that for approval for that spend, and I'm going to approve this particular purchase order. So this is the electronic purchase order approval. Can put it on sales orders, put it on quotes, and I'll say, yep, this is okay, and good to go. Maybe one less K would be good. And I approve that. And so now it has my timestamp of I submitted this for approval and I approved it, but this could very well be my boss or my boss's boss, depending on the amount of money, let's say, that I'm spending, or the supplier that I'm spending it with. So, you know, we call this entry criteria where we're doing that. So this purchase order is an approved and drop ship purchase order. In other words, this ship to address is actually coming from our sales contract. So really very, very simple. So I've gone from a quote to a sales order to a purchase order in like about 4 or 5 clicks. I've done electronic approval. I've delivered quotes. So you can see we're trying to really kind of maximize this. So the next most logical thing that might happen here is we're going to get from our supplier a a voucher. They're going to want to send us a bill. So we're going to take that bill and we're going to voucher that bill. So what we do is we open up that envelope and we record in there the Cisco invoice number and the Cisco invoice date, and they're referencing, of course, our purchase order number. So I'll go ahead and save that. So now I've got a vouchered and registered invoice coming here from supplier, from the Cisco supplier against our purchase order. So what we're trying to enable our customers with here is when I want to voucher these lines, what we're trying to understand is, because I never received it, does the bill that I got in my hand match my purchase order contract? So I bought these switches and licenses and chassis trays all from Cisco, and I bought one each. Is that what they're actually trying to bill me? Is the quantity right? And then this is the total cost and unit cost. Does that match what the I got from the supplier invoice in my hand? And if it does, that's great, and that's what we would call a two-way match, where the purchase order does in fact match the invoice, because I've never received these goods. They've gone directly to Miguel, our customer. So because I've never actually seen them, I now have to deal with the idea of serial number or serial numbers. So if you have a bunch of them, you can drop them in here, or we only have one here, so I'm just going to add a simple serial number in here. And so now we've got captured the serial number, because we're going to want to invoice Miguel, and we may want to share with him the serial numbers that we have sold him for his fixed asset records. Or interestingly enough, we may, in a scenario, want to be able to capture this serial number information and maybe some other information about this sale, so that we can, if this product was ever to be see an upgrade of this, we may have a database now that we can do that. Or if there's ever a return, we can edit that return process against the serial number to say, yeah, that's in fact a serial number I did sell to Miguel. So it kind of protects us and maybe adds another revenue channel for this. So I'm going to say that, yeah, that's what I received, and I'm really happy with that. And then I'm going to say that all of the aspects of this particular invoice have matched. And then what we do is we push this invoice over to your finance system of choice. So we have customers using QuickBooks. We have customers that use lots of other different kinds of finance apps. We're very close with a company called Financial Force, and we'd love to talk to you about the good folks at Financial Force. They have a brilliant app that we work very, very closely with. But you end up with a purchase invoice number in another system that you need to do for payables. In this case, it happens to be Financial Force. So let's take a look at the result of our work here. So I have a purchase order that I had gone, and now, because of virtue of doing the AP voucher, what we're actually seeing here is those goods have actually been delivered to our customer, Miguel. He's got those. Our sales order has been updated to show that, in fact, these things have been shipped, and Miguel should have them. So, but obviously I have not delivered any professional services yet. So now let's, if we dispatch out our professional services folks, we can now do a billing on this process and say, look, these are the things that I sold them, and Cisco said they delivered all of these things, so that's great. So I can see that, there's the quantity ordered, here's the quantity filled, and here's the quantity remaining to bill. Because in some cases, they may have ordered 100, and I can only get 50 right now. So I'm going to do incremental billing over time. And then in my professional services, I can go ahead and bill that hour too, and now go ahead and create an invoice. So this invoice becomes a powerful tool to be able to actually reach out and change that the experience with the customer. So this invoice is now associated not only with our sales order, but I have all of that data there, and now I'm going to recalculate the tax. And the reason we do that now is, for this purpose of this webinar, we pinged the tax within probably 10-15 minutes here, but in the real world, that may have taken a month, and those taxes were estimated taxes on the quote, and these are the actual taxes that are going over to Avalera. So this is the actual taxes as of this date and time that we did the taxation. So our total invoice now is done, The invoice detail, when we look at the invoice detail, we're getting the very specific taxing municipalities. In this case, I have 3 different tax rates that are applying to this very specific product that we're doing. So, you get a total cumulative tax rate. So, again, that's a complex thing, trying to make that dead simple for our customers. So that's kind of like a procure to pay, order to cash, simple model to be able to look at things for an order fulfillment where we're doing it in a drop ship mode. If we're pulling inventory, interestingly enough, and pulling it where we're going to ship it, then we're going to have inventory inside the system. So we keep inventory for you in a couple of different ways. So I'm going to look at networking equipment, kind of stay with that Cisco piece a little bit here. And so I'm going to search on networking equipment and a couple of differentiators about our product. So you can see that I've got this product, this 24 port switch here in finished goods in Los Angeles. I have them in multiple different places. And one of the couple of key things that we've really been thinking about here. We keep the inventory and the actual cost in the actual currency. So this happens to be US dollars, but I've got the exact same product with different costs. So I got it at $21,399 and $24,302. So when I deliver this, that becomes the actual cost of goods sold. By actual, I also have the same exact product in stock at $14,995, and it is not a new product, it's customer returned and refurbished. So I can sell the same product with the same product SKU in a new or used condition and keep that cost separate and have a separate price for each kind of condition of inventory that I'm selling, down to the specific lot and serial number. So these lot and serial numbers are working together to help us manage, the actual cost of goods sold. So if you're doing a dropship fulfillment, that's pretty easy. But if it's a inventory fulfillment where you're fulfilling from your warehouse, you're going to need this kind of functionality. So again, we thought this process through. And then finally, another way to kind of think about things in this economy is we have customers that think about goods and services not only in a drop ship or inventory warehouse fulfillment, but more on a recurring revenue model. So we could have a contract that has recurring revenue. So you can see here I have software products and professional service products that roll up to a recurring and non-recurring base. So in this case, our customer is paying $74,159.10 per year, because this is a 3-year contract for just over $250,000. So we see, in this economy where it's certainly not new to have a subscription-based economy, we've been renting time on computers since the mainframe days. I'm probably dating myself there, but this is not new. It's just you need software that's flexible enough to do a drop ship, to do an inventory fulfillment, to do a service contract fulfillment. So this is the quoting tool where we quote that, and then we end up actually with a service contract for these goods and services. So the one thing we know about service contracts that are multiple years, in this case we have a multiple 3-year contract for goods and services, we know there's going to be change. So we'll have an original current service contract value and then a current service contract value that takes effects from 2 different things, either an invoicing that's gone on that's reduced the value of our current contract, or perhaps, and more importantly, change. In this case, change is inevitable. In this case, we are adding new products and services for this customer, where we're adding recurring or non-recurring services for this customer very specifically here. And what we actually do inside the service contract is we incorporate that change. So this change ends up being incorporated and now becomes part of the next billing cycle. So we think about, we thought this through from tangible goods that we're controlling in a warehouse to tangible goods that I'm delivering on with benefit of a supplier drop shipment or a recurring service model where you're buying goods, you're configuring them, and selling like time, like in a managed service way. So you can think about these in multiple different ways, but they're all different revenue streams that we're trying to help manage in a value-added service module. So again, that's kind of where we're at today in the maturity of our products and services and how we're thinking about this. If we kind of I know we're kind of running short on time here, but I did want to kind of talk a little bit about, kind of a couple of summary things here. Where we do have customers working in these models today, and these complex revenue and compensation models today, something we think we're getting good and better at every month. So, we certainly like to talk to you about that. And so we always have questions about this, and we may have questions now. So Jessica, did we get questions today?
We do have a couple questions that people have asked. The first question is, where are you going to get the pricing for Cisco? Is that a catalog that was loaded, or?
Yeah, that was a really good question because I know we had to go fast and I kind of skipped over that. So the pricing in the Cisco products over there, we loaded the Cisco catalog from Cisco, loaded the list price and my price that I used as the basis of the price to calculate the margin. So we have customers that have several supplier catalogs loaded, and we refresh those catalogs on a periodic basis depending on the velocity of change. So we may do some supplier updates daily, some monthly, some quarterly, some annually. Just depends on how those prices are changing to you. So that was a good question.
Okay, we have another question on whether or not we can handle partial shipments.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what happens when you've only got you sold 100 and you've got 10 and you want to deliver them and you want to get started? Didn't really cover that at all, so that's a very fair question. So at the sales order level, we can determine if we can have a partial shipment or we have to ship all of the goods. So in our customer base, what we have seen is they will have goods that are required, 100% of the goods before they can deliver any of the goods. And so, but if there is a partial shipment allowed by the customer, and that's works for the professional services staff, then you can certainly do that too. So it's a simple click box on the sales order to do those.
Okay. And we have a question about the sales tax, wondering if they handle sales tax by the zip code.
Interesting. So that's been kind of the local thinking that, it's actually around the zip code, but it's actually now because of, just the stress of revenue on these municipalities, the zip code's not really working anymore. So we're actually kind of considering taxation now down to what we call the rooftop level. So you could have literally now, especially in California, certainly like in LA County and things like that, depending on the city, and you could be on the west side of the street and the east side of the street and see a very different taxation for goods and services. So we've actually brought it down past the zip code to the actual rooftop level. So trying to work on that complexity.
Okay. And the last question is there a way to see orders that haven't been billed?
Yeah, so what our customers use is they use, and probably should kind of chatted about this a little bit, so let's kind of go back to the application. We use these dashboards and reports to understand from an executive level or user level where I am with the business. So these three represent for me the bookings, the year-to-date, and my open customer orders and the shipments. So this is the open order. So if I want to know, okay, that's CompCare, and Target, and ABC Corporation, Appliances R Us, these are the open orders by customer site that I sold to. If I want more detail on that, I can simply click on the dashboard and we'll run the execution of that, of those the report that substantiates that. So now I see, you know, ABC Corporation, and here's all of the orders, and I'm saying, okay, I get that. Here's a interesting order right here. What's going on with this particular order? So not only is the report interactive to tell me data, but I can click on the report and it'll take me directly to that, and I can see kind of in a couple of clicks now that this particular order is on back order, and I'm waiting for this widget to be delivered. So you know, in 2 clicks I was able to kind of get where I needed to be for that particular order. So yeah, good question there.
Yeah, and that's all the questions that we had submitted.
Okay, great. So maybe you know, the way we're trying to attack this is, and kind of under the umbrella of our company name, which is Less Software. You certainly can buy a quoting tool. That's a really great quoting tool. You can buy an order fulfillment, an inventory application. You can buy a billing system. You can buy all of those and try to craft them together. Even if they're all a cloud-based application, you can embrace you know, all of those, but you still have to make them all work together. So we, under this branding of Less Software, we tried to build something that was really efficient to go from, you know, quote to cash and procure to pay around this, manage those margins, deliver, you know, a really good, accurate cost, because we do things at actual cost down to that very specific serial number, down to that deal, so that I can substantiate a compensation to my rep. And because we are cloud-based, there's literally nothing that you have to do. You don't have to be an expert in database management or managing servers or backing servers up and worrying about a firewall protection and all of that. We're doing that, and the licenses are based on a subscription per user per month model. There's no long-term contract. You simply use it until it doesn't add value to your company, like every other thing that you do with your company. Software shouldn't be any different, so we're trying to change the paradigm there. So, you know, if there's something interesting that you want to drill down and discuss with us, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, we wanted to thank you for joining us. Our Director of Sales is Caroline Pomeroy. You can reach her toll-free at 866-603-1454. You can reach out to her directly at sales@lesssoftware.com. Or if you want more information on what we've seen here today, you can visit us online at www.lesssoftware.com and explore there, and then contact us from that point. So we look forward to talking to you in the future.